relieve all the excess air pressure at some other point in the system. And that's exactly what a BOV or blow-off valve like this one does. As its name suggests, it blows off or gets rid of the excess air pressure in the system when you release the throttle. By blowing off the pressure at a different location in the system, we do not subject the turbo and its components to the increased stresses and shock loads associated with turbo flutter. Now, when it comes to getting rid of the excess air pressure, you have two options. Option 1 is to simply vent everything into atmosphere. Option 2 is to recirculate it back in front of the turbo inlet. Venting everything into atmosphere will give you a loud hissing sound like this. As you can see, instead of letting the excess air pressure force its way past the compressor blades in small chopped up chunks, we simply and efficiently release all of it at once. Your other option is to be stealthy and do what the OEMs do, and that is to recirculate everything in front of the turbo inlet. By recirculating, you're going to lose the hissing sound, but in reality, recirculation is more efficient, because when you vent everything into atmosphere, you lose all the work previously done by the turbo. So when you're back on the throttle, the turbo has to start making boost from zero again, which can result in noticeable lag between gear shifts. But there's a better option than being forced to choose between 100% recirculation and 100% venting, and that's to use a clever dual port like this blow-off valve from Go Fast Bits. And it gives you a nearly infinite number of choices when it comes to the ratio between venting and recirculation. As I said, this blow-off valve has two ports, one for venting to atmosphere and one for recirculation, which means that you can set it up to do both at the same time. The beautiful thing is that it doesn't have just a few preset positions between venting and recirculation. Instead, you can choose any of the nearly infinite number of positions between 100% venting and 100% recirculation by simply turning this knob. This is an exceptionally well-made product, and turning this knob is honestly pure pleasure. But other than knob turning pleasure, it also means that you can set this thing up to recirculate most of the air and vent just enough to atmosphere to give you a nice psh sound. That also means that this BOV can be set up to work with a turbocharged engine using a mass airflow sensor, or MAF. Usually venting to atmosphere on engines that have a MAF doesn't work perfectly because a MAF has already metered the air you're venting and is injecting fuel for the air that you're not actually letting into the engine and are dumping into the atmosphere instead. This means that you can get side effects such as engine stumbling or even stalling when you release throttle, as the engine runs rich for a brief moment when the throttle plate closes. Sometimes you can even see black smoke coming out the exhaust. But with the GFB response, you can fine-tune your setting to recirculate enough air until the engine is happy, while also still getting the blow-off sound. Okay, so now we know what a blow-off valve does, but how does it do it? Well, it's actually pretty simple. Okay, as you can see, we have multiple connections on the blow-off valve, and this part, the bottom part, is what gets connected to the